Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, we're back and again and again and again. I wish I had a cigar. I would be like the short nigger from, Expendables 2. I'm back! So, yeah, back with full force. So, today we are going to be covering the 6th Lord in the 9th house. And I'm not sleep deprived because I'm not going to make a mistake on my titling. Yesterday, in my video of 6th Lord in the 8th, I put 6th Lord, 1st Lord in the 8th house, and I was like, man, people just knew. They were just like laughing, LOL. You are sleep deprived. Yes, I was. But Buddy Ma, as in Pramala's grandma, is here, taking care of everything, so I can finally get sleep. I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go. So, 6th Lord in the 9th house, and what happens when the planet that controls your 6th house is sitting in the 9th house in your horoscope. And if you do not know where your 6th Lord is placed and where all your planetary placements are, yogas and mahadashas and charadashas and all of these things, for that, check out the links here so you can get your full astrological report, including all my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light. So, 6th house. What is 6th house? 6th house represents enemies, deaths, obstacles, small animals, maternal uncle. It represents diseases. It represents small organizations like non-profit organization. It represents service, pretty much, service to other people. It represents routine things that you do in your everyday work life. It's a repetitive pattern, okay? So that's what 6th house. 6th house is the battleground. 6th house is where you go and fight. You fight to death, like You've Got Mail, when she goes, fight to death. And what is 9th house? Well, 9th house represents, philosophy, higher learning, higher knowledge, higher thought pattern. It's about expanding your horizons to, new spiritual places, religious places. It's long distance travel. It's post-grad studies. So, and it's considered one of the most luckiest houses in Vedic astrology, especially. So, when 6th Lord goes in the 9th house, shows that your everyday routine, your everyday work life must be related to things that can expand your philosophical horizon, that can expand your higher knowledge, that can expand your higher philosophical knowledge within you, who you are. And because 6th house represents co-workers, it also shows that you kind of become this like higher philosophical guru for your co-workers. You want to learn more from your work. You want to grow as a person from your work. And your work, your everyday routine becomes the dharma. So if your job is as a customer service, IT customer service, if you have this position, you are going to be taking this position like religion. You're going to be on time. You're going to make sure every customer is like your first customer. Like when you start your job, like you're very good on the phone. Like I've done customer service work and it was like, hey, how are you? And then, by the end of the day, you're like, yeah, what do you want? No, these guys are like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's like one pattern, because they want to make their routine their dharma. And as far as obstacles goes, their obstacles actually comes from meeting people who do not have higher expanded thinking as they do. They run into people who are of lower thinking, lower mind, and these kind of people try to bring these folks down because the 6th Lord is going there. Your 9th house is not going there. Your 6th Lord, your enemies, your obstacles are going into the 9th house. They're stopping you from getting higher education. They're stopping you from, perhaps attaining the right knowledge in this life. So that becomes an obstacle. You take on debt regarding higher education, post-grad education. So let's say if you want to go for your master's, PhD, doctorate, MBBS in India, all of this, like IAS officer, these things, especially nowadays, require loans, student loans. So it shows your debt is being occurred for higher learning. Your debt is going to be occurring through religious learning, through religious practices. Perhaps you built a temple. Perhaps you did something for a religious organization that you took upon a debt for because you felt it was a higher dharma. And because of that, it got you in debt. And because of that, you felt you have now obstacle in your life. You have this huge pressure in your life. And usually the diseases of the 6th Lord in the 9th house shows you may have diseases of the thigh. Like this region, is represented by the ninth house. So the thigh and this upper buttocks area, you may have diseases of the related to those things. And since ninth house represents religion, it shows that there will be a lot of obstacles in you attaining religious knowledge. Perhaps you are not mentally ready. Perhaps as soon as you get into a religious organization at an early age, something happens, you have to move away, or you run into wrong people who you do not want to learn religion from, and you're like, that's it, I'm done. So what happens is only later on in life that these people get to understand the true concept of religion and higher, philosophical God and its concept. Before that, it's all obstacles. Like they're trying, because the sixth house is trying to make you something, make you into something. It's not a bad house. It's simply what I realize, actually there's no such thing as Dushtana house. What this shows is simply is trying to get you ready for the real world. So when you go for any kind of organization, you will know, are they going to be scamming me or not? So it's a pretty good place for that. And because sixth lord is fourth from itself, it becomes the nourishment of person's higher belief. Fourth from any house, like fourth from your ascendant, is the house of nourishment, your mother, where your heart is. Sixth lord learns its higher learning from, the ninth house, meaning your biggest dharma, biggest lessons in life came from facing obstacles, came from facing people who were trying to stop you, and that actually makes you a very good motivational speaker because you went through so many struggles and you came out. You have the most say when it comes to how to motivate other people. But depending upon what other planets are placed here, depending upon what planet is controlling the sixth house, placed in the ninth house, they will have different results. So let's discuss that. So let's say if Sun controls your sixth house, Sun goes into the ninth house. What this shows is that your father becomes this person who stops you from getting higher knowledge, who stops you or becomes somehow a hurdle into you getting post-grad education. Now, this doesn't mean that you may have a bad relationship with the father, which you could because of the fact Sun is in a karmic sign of Scorpio and shows a huge transformation through father, meaning that you try to get your education, father didn't let you, father didn't give you the money, or father just became this huge obstacle in you trying to just even gain education or go to any kind of religious activity. Or because father was so sick that you had to quit school, quit all your beliefs, stop learning all the higher philosophy and take care of him. And so that kind of becomes the obstacle. But at the same time, what this shows is that your personality, your self-esteem, your confidence builds over time after really learning the reality of what this world is about. Your personality is shaped by seeing the obstacles that your father put you through, by seeing the obstacles that the world puts you through. So it's affecting your personality, your persona. And this is because ninth house is a strong house for Sun to be in. It shows that you eventually become a very dharmic person. You're like, my father's no longer here, I'm an adult, I'm not going to let him stop me from learning, getting the higher learning. I'm not going to let him stop me from knowing what this world is about, what is it like to travel. Okay. And this also shows that on behalf of the government, due to the government service, you may travel long distances. So that is possible. Let's say sixth house is ruled by moon. Moon is sitting in the ninth house. What this shows is that your mind, your peace of mind comes in when you're learning higher philosophy of the other world, when you're learning higher education regarding diseases and curing diseases. Because ninth house is a house of post-grad education, higher learning, and moon here is showing that your mind is into solving other people's conflicts by having higher education, solving other people's conflict by knowing the higher philosophy, and shows that your mother kind of instilled in you the philosophy to deal with obstacles, to deal with enemies. She was very good at that. She became this guru for you that whenever you were in an obstacle, she was like, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do. And she kind of just brought out this creativity within you to solve your conflicts, to solve your debts, to solve your diseases. And pretty much mother was like this, guru for you. Let's say Mercury rules your sixth house, Mercury goes into the ninth house, shows that you have the keen intelligence, you have the keen analytical and logical skills by getting a higher learning into solving sixth house problems. Perhaps you got into higher education of accounting, mathematics, learning how to solve conflicts in workplaces, becoming a manager, supervisor, actually a good position for this with Mercury is a HR manager. You know philosophically how to deal with everyday issues at work. And here you may also you have the keen intelligence to go for medical career, to where you can learn how to communicate and deal with people's conflicts. And this is a good placement for somebody to become a teacher, somebody to become a mathematics teacher as well. But your communication really influenced by your struggles, by your obstacles, by your diseases. Whenever you speak on solving conflicts, solving conflicts of the third world, solving conflicts of non-profit organization. And especially with Moon here, Moon, that which I forgot to mention, is that you want to gain higher knowledge in order to help small animals. That shows that you may have interest in becoming a veterinarian, or you just simply are inclined towards being in love with animals. Now, if Venus controls the 6th house, Venus goes into the 9th house. What this shows is that perhaps you meeting other women or your wife kind of became an obstacle in you getting higher knowledge or higher philosophical knowledge of this world. Perhaps your wife wanted you to move here and you wanted to be here learning, and because of that you couldn't learn. Or it shows that your wife was in the medical industry, got a postgrad education, and because of that your luck became really good. Because it's not a negative placement either. You got to understand, like here Venus can show you that your wife went through so many conflicts, because Venus represents a wife for a man, and it represents relationship and marriage in general. So it shows that your spouse, especially wife, dealt with a lot of conflicts, and because of the conflict she became very philosophical, very spiritual. And because of that you kind of learned the true spirituality of the world. She's like, you know what, I went through this, I had a gun pulled on me, I had a knife pulled on me, I dealt with this is who I am. So this is actually a good placement. A woman is not really bringing struggles to you. She may be bringing struggles to you if there's negative influence on it, of course. But here what this shows is that your wife is going to be somebody very spiritual who learned a lot of obstacles in her life. Yet at the same time you're going to run into women on long distance journey. Whether you're a man or woman, you may just have female friends as a woman, or you may be a lesbian and you may meet your partner, but you will meet women in long distances who were in trouble and they were looking for spiritual salvation, and you kind of met them at that crossroads. That can happen. Let's say Mars controls your 6th house, Mars goes into the 9th house, shows that a male friend or a male brother will try to stop you from getting higher education, will try to stop you from getting lucky in life. You will incur debt upon diseases of like the thigh area or muscles, like your muscles in the thigh got weak, and because of that things became an obstacles for you. And at the same time shows that you dealt with a lot of enemies who kind of followed you to long distance places and try to go after you. It shows that you faced a lot of cunning gurus in your life. You may have faced with organizations that were trying to be religious, but they kind of mugged you. They kind of like just took you out of their element. Or you will meet a guru who will be a very motivational guru for you. Perhaps a sports coach. You met a coach. Usually sports coaches we've seen with this alignment as well, depending upon what sign Mars is in. If Mars goes in the 9th house, shows that your guru told you, he threw you into the pool of struggle, who threw you right into the woods without any safety and say, okay, spend one day there and then come back to me. That's how you kind of learned in life. You threw yourself into the hardest places. You found people there who taught you how to struggle and deal with these things, and that's how you kind of gained your education. But you may not have gained your post-education. You may have gained the education of higher, like the real world, and being with drug dealers or being with all the people in the ghetto, and you just grew up and then you became this hard-ass businessman. But because of that, you gained higher education. That became your dharma in life. Let's say if Jupiter is controlling your 6th house, Jupiter goes into the 9th house. Now Jupiter is what? Jupiter is gurus. Jupiter is actually teachers, finance. It represents luck. Jupiter represents higher philosophy. It is everything that the ninth house that I told you about, that's what Jupiter is. So if Jupiter rules the sixth house and goes into the ninth house, shows that in a positive way, you will find teachers who will get you out of struggle, who will get you out of, debt, who will get you out of the enemy line and teach you higher philosophical thinking, higher learning, higher, religious views on what you went through. They will put a sugar on what you did. You'll meet gurus who will always tell you that what you suffered is what you needed to know. And your gurus will come in the most struggling time of your life. When you are in debt, when you are facing a lot of obstacles, you will meet a guru who will perhaps uplift you. Kind of like me. I'm not a guru, but a lot of people say that I completely changed their thinking regarding astrology, and hey, I'll take that, because the fact it's so important for you to learn the true view of astrology, not like all these websites and all these astrologers that you see from India saying that, well, that's bad, this is going to happen, that's a negative, debilitated planet, that's going to, no. It really doesn't work that way. There is positive in each house, there is negative in each house. In ninth house, negativity of the ninth house is it can make you a religious fanatic. Like you can see a white supremacist group or some, people in Middle Eastern countries, people in India who burn their, their daughter-in-laws and wives due to their religious beliefs. That shit is bad too. Don't think ninth house is all good. That can have the bad side, but for these people, they meet gurus in their struggles. And at the same time, they make their wealth, because Jupiter is finance and wealth. They make their wealth through being in debt, yet taking the debt to a long distance land and doing perhaps business of that, because any business will require some sort of a debt. Okay, even I've taken on debts that I paid off, but of course I needed them for my business. I needed to buy a camera, I needed to buy audio. I paid it off later on, but that's what happens. And what this also shows is that since Jupiter represents, biology in Vedic astrology, shows that you perhaps got a higher education regarding biology, biomedical career. Also, you perhaps even went into poetry as well. And your everyday routine involved religious activities, involved spiritual activities like a priest. So this can be somebody who may become a priest as well. Now, this also shows that you perhaps even became a preacher yourself. You struggled so much that finally you found God, and because of the God you started spreading the word of God. So all of these things are possible with Jupiter here. But Jupiter gives you higher education, gives you postgrad education, yet with some struggle. Now let's say Saturn controls the 6th house and Saturn goes in the 9th house. What this shows is that you could be cheated by your gurus. You will have gurus that will actually stop you from learning the higher education that you want to learn. You will have gurus and teachers that will perhaps give you a long-lasting struggle. Like they divert you in a wrong direction and then you're like, what did I do? What did I just follow? It showed that if somebody incurs debt, they incur debt for a long period of time. So let's say if you're doing your PhD, you take on debt and that debt does not go away for like 15, 20 years. Like I have friends here who are in their 50s and still paying off student loan debts. I mean, it's just nothing to be scared of. It's just you're still making money. You're making a lot of money, but you're still paying off debt. So it's nothing to be scared about. But that's because Saturn is a slow-moving planet. Saturn is a natural malefic planet. Saturn brings you reality, and Saturn in your 9th house will bring you all sorts of reality of the 6th house. But since Saturn is a routine planet, he's a very routine planet like the 6th house. He loves doing repetitive work. What this shows is that your everyday repetitive work will have some sort of a struggle to it. Like you will be struggling to find repetition or routine in your life, but because Saturn is sitting in the ninth house, where in Trikona house, Saturn really doesn't do too well. Especially like, in Trikona houses, natural malefic planets are kind of not welcome unless they're exalted or in their own mul Trikona sign. That's when they only do well. But here, Saturn's routine will make you kind of hinder your postgrad education. Like maybe your everyday routine is to get up, pray, and then do this, eat, run, while you know that you have to be in class at a certain time. But because Saturn has made this process so frustrating, you're like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. How do I manage these things? So time management kind of becomes difficult. And at the same time, these people become those kind of people, where, like you've seen those people, it's called obsessive compulsive disorder, where they open door, close it, they open door, close it 10 times. Repetitive work, Saturn, slow but frustrating. It does that to them. Like it's a disease. And because Saturn is a repetitive thing, those people keep doing the same thing. I've seen those reality shows that open the faucet, close the faucet, open the faucet. That's so Saturn's trying to bring that frustrated repetitiveness, within your life. And at the same time, it brings like chronic diseases, chronic illnesses in your everyday life. Like your everyday life might be, especially higher education becomes, like it's what can I say? It's kind of blocked for a certain time due to your chronic illness. But once you reach your 35, 36 years of age, Saturn kind of starts reversing his negative role. What Saturn has now done, he has made you into a gold. He has put you through so much frustration, meaning so much heat, that you finally become this gold, like this ring, and you become like sparkle. You become this sparkly person that you have struggled so much. You know how to deal with diseases, deaths, enemies, all of it. But because 6th house represents non-profit organization, small animals, it usually shows somebody who wants to gain higher education to help third world countries, non-profit organization, small animals, handicapped people. So usually they go into higher learning for those things. But mainly religion, philosophy becomes a struggle. Like the way you think the philosophy is, it's really is not that way. Like you think that spanking your kid or hitting your kid really hard, that's the way to teach them. And you're sticking to it. You're stubborn about it. With Mars and Saturn ruling the 6th house, being in the 9th house. But is that the right way? No, absolutely not. Most Indian parents do that. They hit you. Right within 5 minutes, they're like, oh, do you want to eat roti? Do you want to eat sabji? That screws your mind up. And that's how some parents could be. Where they curse you, they tell you you're not worth it, but then within 5 minutes, they're saying, do you want to eat food? Indian parents do that. And that's the kind of pattern you will see with this placement. Okay. So guys, this is my analysis of 6th Lord in the 9th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know again where your 6th Lord is placed, all your planetary conjunction aspects, mahadashas, yogas, all of that, check out the links here and check out all my books and astrology report. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. And remember, this week we are actually going to be starting with our Q&A session again. Bye-bye.